Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another BS Crew video. This one is going to be a bit different because, as you can see, my face is actually present. Me and some friends actually just went to the 21st Connecticon in Hartford, Connecticut just a couple weeks ago at the time of recording here, okay? So, Connecticon 2024, we all went as a big group. This is going to be kind of vlog, kind of a recap, and, you know, there might be some just kind of survival tips in here as well, and just kind of talking about our story, because myself included, alongside the rest of my friends, we all love Connecticon. We've been going for years, and it's awesome every single time. But before I go over this awesome convention, I do just need to thank a couple of my friends here. So Josh from RSMP Tabletop lent me his Blackmagic camera for the weekend, and it is just chef's kiss. It is perfect. I loved working with it. If you want to see what I actually did with it, you could check out the surprisingly deep lore of Bionicle video, probably in this corner. I'm assuming that's where I'm going to put it. And I also really want to thank my good friend. His online alias is KX. He handled a lot of the B-roll shooting and stuff while I was doing my panel. So thank you both so very much. Their channels are going to be linked in the description, and I couldn't have done it without them. So thank you guys so very much. All right, and without further ado, let's get into Connecticon 2024, a con in review. So Friday started, and we left Casa de Jared at around 11 with everybody. The group today consisted of me, Josh, Nicole, Sean, and KX. So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really plan on doing this at first, so there's really not too much footage or anything on Friday, but you know, we got some cell phone pictures and whatnot. First up, it was a fantastic time, as per always. We always get super hyped around this time of the year. I literally make a con spreadsheet because my one gripe with Connecticon, I'm not a huge fan of their website, specifically the scheduling side of it. There's really no way to filter things, so I literally just copy and paste large parts of the con schedule that I think that me and my friend group will be interested in, and then we all just kind of edit it, kind of bold what panels and stuff we want to go see. And yeah, that worked out great for us. Connecticon, if you could make your scheduling a lot cooler, that'd be awesome. I know in the past they've actually used some apps, but they're not very user-friendly and they're kind of clunky. So we usually just stick with the spreadsheet. So thankfully we did badge pickup Thursday night, so getting into the con should have been a breeze. We already had our badges come Friday morning, and actually for the first time ever, we actually had to park on the roof of the parking garage connected to the Connecticut Convention Center, which was kind of insane because usually we only have to park on the third, fourth, maybe fifth floor if we're running late. But the top floor, and there's 8 or 9 levels to this thing. So we were very surprised about that, and that comes up a little bit later as well. So I'll talk to you guys about that in a little bit. As we got onto the roof, we unpacked, Sean got into his Helldivers cosplay, and we headed into the con. So our first panel of the con was called Click Clacks and Shiny Rocks. That is hosted by a really cool dice making company called Puka Dice. So if you're a fellow dice goblin like myself, you've probably wondered about how to actually make resin dice before, whether that comes down to the molds, what's included with how you get into it. And yeah, they were super knowledgeable and incredibly friendly, and they just walked us through their entire process. They also did a really cool giveaway at the end that I loved, and throughout the entire presentation they made, I believe they just called it a chunk. It's like a giant D20. And so they made that during the hour of the presentation. They actually gave it away to one lucky person. And they also gave away another dice set as well. I'm currently not actively playing D&D as often as I used to, but definitely if I'm ever looking for a cool custom dice set, I'm going to be hitting these guys up because, you know, you got to shop local, and they were super cool. So can't wait to see what they do. I'm going to be linking all of the vendors that I talk about in this video, at least all the ones that have contact info for. I'm going to be dropping their Instagrams, YouTubes, that kind of stuff, all in the description here as well. The next panel we went to was called Yakuza, the Psychology of Masculinity. Pretty much, it's exactly what it says in the title. This was another really cool, very well-informed panel, basically about how a lot of the characters of Yakuza, even though I am not all that familiar with them, kind of how they fit into the mold of masculinity and a patriarchal system and everything like that. So the presenter was super well thought out, and you can also just tell from everybody else that was in there, especially the number of Majima cosplayers alone. People love this series, and it's always really cool to see kind of the things that are kind of going under the hood in really popular game series like this. So it was great. So I can't wait to hopefully dive into Yakuza soon. I have Yakuza 0 downloaded on Steam. It's just in the backlog. So till next time. But unfortunately, I didn't get the name of that presenter, but they did an incredible job. Okay, so like most cons, Connecticon has a really robust artist alley and vendor hall. Now, while this is definitely more of an anime-focused convention, you can get anything from anime-related stuff. You can get comic books, you can get toy weapons, you can get Blu-rays, whatever you're looking for. There's a good chance, if it's nerdy adjacent, you could find something kind of similar to it at the Connecticon Artist Alley and just kind of their whole shopping center, which is a blast every single year. So I was really tempted to drop $100 on a 5-foot-tall Spear of Longinus replica. I'm pretty sure I got some B-roll of it, but maybe next year. I think I need some wall hooks first to hang it up, but it looked awesome. And it's just a huge booth full of gigantic weapons, right? My only complaint, I wish the Dragon Slayer that they had was just a smidge bigger. All right, and really only one funny story happened when I was doing this first shopping spree with everybody. So I'm going to do my best to do like a crappy little B-roll animatic thing here, okay? So I was taking a look at some other vendor booths, and then I turned behind me. I saw one of those X-rated body pillow booths like you do. It's an anime convention. As I'm scanning around the crowd, I see someone in full Krieg uniform, stoic, looking at some anime bitches on body pillows, longingly. Seriously, he was standing there for about 15 seconds just staring. I tried to reach for my camera, but he started walking away before I can get a picture, unfortunately. But I promise you, it was gold, and it was a running gag for the rest of the weekend because some of my other friends saw it as well. All right, next up we have the Food Truck Festival. Over the past couple years, the Riverfront Food Truck Festival has happened right below where the convention center stands, so it's been really convenient to get some grub in between the busy days, and not to mention all the food is, generally speaking, very fantastic. So, me and the group love to go there every single time. I actually went to Mac and Sliders yet again. They're kind of hometown heroes for me. Yeah, and their sliders are always just perfect. I will say, it's very funny to see the contrast between the suburban families enjoying slushies and burgers, and then the next thing you know, like Guts Berserk is eating falafel 5 feet away. Yeah, it's good times. And yeah, then we just had some more shopping to kill some time here. Only true wife guys know what I'm talking about here. I made sure, I was like, my priority, I gotta get good stuff for my wife, right? So I got a couple goodies for her. I stopped at this really cool candle vendor, unfortunately I don't have their name, and got this really cool artisan candle for Amanda. It's, in the teacup with the kind of this like burgundy candle thing. I have no sense of smell, but I've been told it smells pretty good. And I also picked up a pretty sweet Stardew Valley print I found. I do have their contact info, so that will be down in the description as well. So other than just hanging around, playing some games, and witnessing wrestling, more on that later. The last big thing of the day was the FMV Contest. That was between 8 and 11 p.m. on Friday. And it's actually the first time that I've ever really seen it. When I was a kid growing up, I watched a lot of AMVs or FMVs, depending which acronym you use. And yeah, I was like obsessed with it when I was younger. Plenty of Naruto synced up to 3 Days Grace and Breaking Benjamin. There was just a ton of that. I will say though, a lot of the entries were great this year. It's the first time I've seen like the full contest. And for the first time, even an FMV in the comedy section actually made me and the rest of the crowd bust out laughing. And nothing against previous contestants, but this one, which wound up winning the comedy section, was brilliant, and it was awesome. If I can find the video, I'll try to put some B-roll up here. After that, we left the con at around 11, and we were all very eepy. I could tell that we're all getting old, not only because we don't recognize a lot of the new age anime characters outside of like the really big ones, but yeah, we were all just kind of excited to go to bed, and we could all pretty much sleep for at least 12 hours by the end of the day. There's a ton of walking at conventions. I'm sure that's an obvious thing, but make sure to wear comfortable footwear, because if you're like me and an idiot, and you let the dogs breathe, and you're wearing flip-flops the entire weekend, you will get a blister eventually. And it's not fun dealing with it right now. So yeah, so proper footwear and keeping hydrated to keep yourself energized, just to kind of keep yourself hydrated and able to move around a lot, essentials. Okay, so Saturday is the big day. Honestly, every Saturday at Connecticon is worth the price of admission alone. We have a lot of really great events, and it's usually the busiest day with the most people. So we left my place at 9 o'clock that morning, and we expanded our roster as Charlie joined us today as well. Now, this is the first complaint I've had about the con, and this really isn't even on Connecticon themselves, if I'm being honest with you. The parking situation Saturday and Sunday was atrocious. And the reason why I'm saying this is no fault of the con, the city of Hartford had 3 huge festivals booked that entire weekend. So there was Connecticon, right? Which already brings in, I think it's between 10 and 20,000 people every weekend. There was a jazz festival, and I believe there was some kind of Latino festival happening as well. And on Saturday, there's also the like a Pokemon themed day at the Science Center, which is just over the bridge from the Connecticut Convention Center. So that parking garage was full. So we got there at around like 9:50, I want to say, and it was already completely full. But, and again, no fault to the con here, but the cops that were directing traffic just kind of sucked. We were at a standstill at a stoplight for damn near 20 minutes doing nothing. Like, we didn't move an inch. And they weren't telling us to go, they weren't letting anybody go through, and it was just at a standstill. I don't really know what happened, but even on like the Connecticon Facebook group, a lot of people were complaining about this. And thankfully, on Sunday, the traffic wasn't much better, but it was at least remedied where we were able to go through to a separate parking garage. So the parking garage that we actually wound up going to was like right down the street. So it was only a little bit of a walk, and it really wasn't too bad or anything like that. But yeah, so eventually we got in, and enough about my bitching and moaning. As we finally got out of that parking garage, we walked towards the convention center, and unfortunately we had to say bye to Charlie for a few minutes, because if you've been to Connecticon, you know the lines to get the badges can be pretty long. So Charlie didn't have a chance to come with us on Thursday because he was out of state, and then when he finally got his badge, which actually only took like 20 minutes this time, usually it's like much longer, so props to Connecticon for improving their line management, and that was awesome. So Charlie left us to go pick up his badge. And while we were waiting for Charlie, we didn't really have any other panels or anything that we wanted to check out on the schedule, but what we did do was check out the new one-day booths upstairs. So as the name suggests, these are artists and other like small businesses that can essentially rent out a single booth for one day. I'm assuming it's at a cheaper cost for these vendors, or maybe they just don't want to spend money for like the full 4-day weekend. Because, you know, like they need to worry about hotel fees and everything. But there's a lot of really cool new vendors that, you know, I'm glad to see them there, because not that the Artist Alley is missing any variety, but it's always cool to see more places where I can spend my money. Now, we did have a bit of a slow morning, you know, between waiting for Charlie to get the badge and there wasn't a whole ton of panels that we were super interested in checking out. But the first thing we did was Nintendo and Sega trivia. This is the same company that does it every year, and they always do a really solid job. Last year, actually, we got first place in the Nintendo and Sega round, and that was a complete Hail Mary. There was like 8 of us, and we like just barely by like 1 point won against 2 people. It might have been a couple or something, I don't know. But yeah, so we kind of got lucky last year, I'll say. And then this year, we got 3rd place. So not too bad. One of the things I really like about the trivia area is that it is a 21 plus area. So if you're a degenerate and you want to get your 11 a.m. beer, like me and Sean did, you can do that. So I had an Allagash White in my system by like 11:15. It was a good time. After the trivia, we went to another staple of the con, and I think the only time that we've done this previously was last year. None of us actually participated in it, but we went to the 21 plus dating game. Essentially what happens here is that there's a ton of people in cosplay. They come up, and it's the traditional dating game of the ye old times, right? So, you know, essentially when there's kind of like that like split screen, like down like the middle of a stage, and there's like 3 contestants, then there's like the bachelor that's like on the other side. They do that, and everyone's in cosplay, but they play their character too. And usually, you know, it gets a bit raunchy, and I will say they towed the line of cringy and funny very well. So it's awesome. And the one standout this time that I remember is there was this Guts cosplayer that kept screaming about Griffith, and he was the bachelor. So one of the questions was, do you hate Twinks as much as I do? Griffith! Yeah, it was great. It was a good time. And yeah, on to the next event. Not quite in an event, but this is yet another tradition that me and my friends do whenever we're at Connecticon. This is going to the subway that's built into the convention center. Not much to note here, really. It's just an easy place where, you know, you can get to very quickly, and if you don't want to eat the convention center food because it's not that great. And yeah, so all that I did, really, I got a 6-inch grinder, which, you know, is surprisingly average, depending who you ask. And, you know, it was fun. It was a Subway sandwich, nothing really to write home about. It was definitely better than the chicken tenders that I wound up buying this past weekend. $9 for 3 unseasoned chicken tenders. So Subway gets a one-up on the convention center food there. My favorite part about going to Subway is that usually, Saturday was a little bit different because they had the Pokemon game, but generally speaking, whenever we would go to Subway, it's this weird mix of cosplayers from the convention, you know, and then there's like these grandparents taking their grandkids to the science museum on like a weekend just for fun, or like it's a school trip or something. And it's just really funny to see like normal people like take a seat next to like Hatsune Miku while eating like a Subway footlong cookie. You know, it's a good time. It's fun. Okay, one of my favorite parts of the convention since I believe it was 2 years ago are the magicians. Now, I know that if you just say, oh, there's magicians, you might not be that interested. You might be thinking like kid birthday party, but these guys are incredible. Okay, there's these 2 magicians. I'm going to be throwing their stuff up on screen now. They have, I believe they both have Instagram, and I'll link their website in the description as well. They do, it's not really like raunchy or anything like that, but you know, it is a bit more adult-oriented magic. And again, like, they just do a lot of like really funny gags too. It's like, these guys, if they were magicians, they could pull off being comedians full-time. I promise you, okay? And actually, one of the magicians, Michael OJ, just to kind of tie into the fact that this is a big nerd convention, he actually has this whole bit where he's basically ragging on Karibo from Yu-Gi-Oh! And despite the fact that Karibo is the coziest of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that I love personally, he gets a pass because the trick is actually really cool. I don't want to spoil anything, but next time you're in the New England area, search up these magicians here, and you will have a great time. I promise you. And I hope to see them next year and every year coming forward at the con. They are great. They're a super highlight that I love. Okay, so yet another tradition that me and my friends do every single year we go to Connecticon is Saturday before the death battle, we will go to Bear's Barbecue in Hartford. So this is also just a brisk walk from the convention center. You can get there in less than a 5-minute walk. It's just right down the street, basically. And if you're unfamiliar with Bear's, it is obviously a barbecue chain localized to Connecticut. They only have 3 locations right now, I believe. And it's really good. It's greasy barbecue. So, you know, you go get a greasy barbecue thing and then walk around for miles a day when you're at this convention. Is it a great idea? No. Do we let some tummy aches stop us? Also, no. But it's been a thing just because their food is delicious. So we always make sure to go every single year. This is my 4th Connecticon. It's the 4th time we've been to that Bear's. We've actually sought out the other Bear's in Connecticut as well. The only difference now is that we actually didn't go directly before the death battle like we usually do, because this time we had something pretty special planned. I think it was pretty special. We had my Bionicle panel. So I'll talk about that more in a minute. But basically what we did, I had to go and eat dinner at like 4 p.m. like an old person, basically. Chow it down real quick, walk over to the convention center again to get set up for my panel, run back to the garage to drop off the camera in the car, and then run directly back to the pre-show for the death battle. So it was very busy. I didn't get to kind of indulge and enjoy Bear's Barbecue as much as I usually do, but wonderful time all the same. And I think the Bears, like the people that work at Bears, I think they get a kick out of watching all the anime people come through and all the cosplayers, so it's always a riot. Alright, so this was something that I was equal parts nervous and excited for. So if you guys have seen this YouTube channel for a while now, you know I'm a certified yapper. I like talking about weird, nerdy stuff that I really enjoy here, okay? So in the past, in 2022, I did a speed quizzing panel, which is the Smart Fun Trivia stuff that I host year-round. And then, except I put like an anime and pop culture twist on it. So we did a ton of trivia about anime and pop culture, and it was fun. We had a pretty good turnout for that. I liked it. We had prizes for the winners. It was great. Last year, there's a video coming soon on this, I promise. I recorded it, just found the footage. So last year, I did a So You Want to Read comics. That was in the same format as the rest of the So You Want to Read videos. And it turned out it wasn't as great, but the few people that were there were like super engaged. They were asking very detailed questions. It was fun to just kind of geek out about comic books with people. This year, the panel I submitted as a joke, The Surprisingly Deep Lore of Bionicle, got accepted while the other 2 got denied. So I already have a passing knowledge of Bionicle because I grew up reading it and playing with the toys and everything, and it was awesome. All right, so you're going to be able to see a full video of me talking about Bionicle lore here. Highly recommend checking that out. It is an hour long of just me telling like basically the abridged version of the Bionicle lore. So yeah, in a million years, I never would have expected a panel about the surprisingly deep lore of Bionicle to get approved. But here we are. So before this happened, I brushed up on all my Bionicle lore. I spent hours and hours listening and reading Bionicle stuff. And I basically just regurgitated the entire story of the Bionicle. Again, we have the video. It's great. I had a lot of fun making it. And yeah, the crowd was phenomenal. Funny enough, I think that's the best turnout I've gotten for one of my panels so far. And there's a super passionate people were there. All there for Bionicle, funnily enough. But one really cool thing is that there's actually a guy that I met afterward. He was a former member of the Biomedia Project team. So basically the database where everything about Bionicle is all backed up and cataloged. He was there and he was like, great job. I loved your presentation, you know. And to that guy, I'm sorry I didn't get your name, but thank you for the work that you did for the Biomedia Project. Without it, this panel would not have been able to happen. So thank you so much to everybody that came out to that panel. You know, the crowd is the reason why I do it. Thank you, guys. Okay, so this is where the fun really begins, okay? The pre-show to the deathmatch is usually a recap of a couple big events that happen, right? So there's usually the award ceremony for the general cosplay competition. Last year, there was this really cool band that did a bunch of video game and anime music covers, and they do that just to kind of hype up the crowd, because the deathmatch is the main event of the weekend. But this year, during the pre-show, on top of doing the cosplay awards, they also did the FMV winners. So they basically did a big showcase. I believe there was like maybe 8 or 9 categories. So there were 6 main categories, and there's like a coordinator's choice and I think a judge's choice as well for like the favorite videos. Yeah, and I'm not disappointed with any of them. They were all great in their own ways, and that one that wound up winning the comedy one was fantastic. It had everybody almost in tears. So great job to whoever edited that. It was perfect. As the FMV contest finishes, the lights around us start to dim, and a bright red light starts shining on the main stage of Connecticon. This is when the deathmatch is about to start. We see all of our competitors walk out onto stage. Okay, everybody's getting excited. It was specifically Suffocate by Knocked Loose playing, and it was great. I had an awesome time singing along, even though only me and maybe 5 other people in the crowd knew the song, so I appreciate you, Mookie. And then we have Mookie come out. He's our host. He does the whole, I think it's a Triple H thing when he spits the water out of his mouth when he gets on the ground to get people hyped. It got us hyped. It was awesome. And then we're also accompanied by his pet bear, Odin, and also by the voice of God. So I'm going to go over what the death battle is, why I like it so much, and how this has become like the con staple. Because this is the main event of the weekend. And I'm going to be honest, if I just had to pay the regular entry fee between like $70 and $100, if it was just the death battle for like 2 or 3 hours, I would still pay that, okay? This one event is worth the price of admission for the entire weekend, okay? It is great. And honestly, like, I told my friends about this. I was like, if they don't do the deathmatch, I might not go to Connecticon, right? But this is such a huge selling point that it makes it worth it for everybody that I know. And pretty much everybody that I know that I've ever got to Connecticon with fucking loves it. This is the best event of the weekend. There's tons of heavy metal playing, cosplayers doing mock battles on the stage, and you lose your voice by the end every single time. If you're wondering what the hell a cosplay deathmatch is, let me explain it to you. Essentially, we get 2 cosplayers that stand on either side of Mookie, our host. These cosplayers can be dressed up as pretty much anything. Anything from current anime of the season, to niche shows, to even pop culture figures. We had fucking Jackie Chan win a few years ago, and that was a lot of fun. When this happens, when we have the 2 cosplayers that stand on either side of Mookie, he will raise his hand over one cosplayer. People will cheer for, if they want them to win. He'll raise his other hand over the other cosplayer. The other ones will cheer. And then whoever gets the most cheers and whoever has the most passionate fans, they win. They'll engage in a mock battle, and the loser gets pulled aside by the zombies, pulled off stage, while the winner gets to gracefully exit the stage and progress on to the next round. So this is a bracket tournament. Basically like a multiversal bracket tournament, I guess. You can get anything from anime characters. We've had Solaire and Solid Snake in the past years. Those have been fan favorites. There's usually this older couple that'll show up as well, and they'll cosplay as just any like older couple. They did like Nurse Jenny, I think, in like a Pokemon trainer a couple years ago, as well as the husband. He dressed up as Iroh, and I believe he won a few years back as well. So yeah, this is the fan favorite event. One thing that we need to talk about, because this is one of my personal favorites about the deathmatch, about my already favorite event of the weekend, that is Odin. So Odin is the stuffed bear, which is basically the mascot of the death battle. Screaming blood for Odin with probably 500 other people at least is one of my favorite things ever. So basically, when enough blood has been spilt, Odin, who has seen enough bloodshed for 100 lifetimes, Mookie raises him up. The crowd goes ballistic every single time. I cannot imagine, not knowing about this. I can't explain how awesome the deathmatch is, okay? And it sounds silly. And especially when I try to tell people about this, they're like, is that it? But I promise you need to go to it. So if you go to Connecticon in the future, please do, first up. But also, go to this deathmatch. I promise you, you will have such a great time. Bring friends. Cheer for your favorite characters. It's such a great time. And lastly, this year, we had Inosuke from Demon Slayer. He won the entire competition. This dude is jacked, by the way. He had like a fucking 8-pack. All right. And he was coming out shirtless like Inosuke does, got the swords, and he was doing this whole choreographed fight. And he won the finals against Miles Morales. So there was an awesome Miles Morales cosplayer that also just tore the house down whenever he was on stage. They actually choreographed their last fight. So it was sick. Okay, so then that concludes our Saturday night. Usually there's actually like an after party, but because I've been kind of on like a drinking break and it was just kind of a smaller group of us, we just went home because we were tired. It was like 11 o'clock at night. We still had to drive like another 40 minutes to get back to my place. And that's not including everybody else needing to drive probably another 20 minutes on top of that to get back to their places. So yeah, it was a long day, fantastic, and we went to sleep. But not for long because Sunday. So this is the final day of the con, and it's usually what me and my friends refer to as the shopping day. Not too much really happens. There's a handful of panels that we like to go check out, but it's kind of just, oh, if you see these things, like now is the time to buy. Because occasionally you'll have these vendors that go on sale for like the final day. Hey, I'm trying to get rid of these prints, just, even if it's just 10% off, right? You can usually get kind of a deal on that. Yeah, and it's usually kind of the quiet day, so it was pretty nice just to kind of relax, walk around a little bit. There was one other big event that happened, that's been happening throughout the weekend, and I'll be talking about that here as well. Okay, the first panel that we tried going to was Sketch Showdown. If you've ever played Jackbox, it's kind of like champed up, or at least that's what it was pitched to be. So it's basically, people would do like doodles, compare them against each other, and kind of similar to the death battle, I'm assuming. People would just kind of shout and cheer for whichever one they think was the funniest. Charlie made a really funny, basically a Smiley Friends character, and it was great. We were having so much fun on that bit. And the panel was supposed to start 11:15. 11:30 rolled around, and the staff came in and said, yeah, the other guys bailed. Sorry. So even though I was really excited for this panel, I was really bummed to see that it basically got canceled last minute. So what happened after that is we all left, and we just went to go check out some other things. After that, the next panel I went to with Charlie and Jack while the others went shopping and just kind of looking around. We had chilling, thrilling facts about Disney's Haunted Mansion. The person that hosted this panel, she was super knowledgeable. She said that she's been in the Disney fandom, running forums and podcasts and stuff like that for close to 30 years, at least 20, between 20 and 30. And she just did a breakdown of all, I believe there was 5 different Haunted Mansion rides at the various Disney parks, as well as the 3 different movies. So, we had the original one with Eddie Murphy. There was the Muppet one, which she said was the best, which I believe, who doesn't love some Muppets? And then there was the new one that came out, I believe, in either last year or 2022. And I kind of bailed early because she was going to be talking about kind of the supposed engineering behind all of these. I didn't really want to know about that. I kind of keeping the magic alive, so to speak. So I bailed when she kind of said that she was going to be doing that. Charlie and Jack stayed for the entire thing, and they had a great time. So yeah, after that, we just did some more shopping. I picked up an art print for myself. That was kind of it. I just got an art print this weekend. I didn't, there's no crazy haul. I hate to tell you guys. I know those videos where people drop thousands of bucks at a con do well, but I just bought one print for myself. I spent more on Amanda than I did for me. But, nothing against any of the vendors, but I was like, this is a sick poster. Let's do that. Okay, one thing that I have been saving just because Sunday is usually kind of the slow day, and I just kind of need something to pad up this section of the video. There is also cosplay wrestling, right? So if the deathmatch doesn't do it for you, there is people actually in costume, full on wrestling in the convention center as well. There's I think it was three showtimes every single day. Unfortunately, we didn't really get to catch too much of it in the previous days, but on Sunday, I was able to witness the grand finale. And I need you guys to understand something, okay? For the past 3 years that I've been going to Connecticon, they've been having this cosplay wrestling, okay? So I watched them their first year they were there. I was hooked. Okay, I took so many videos just on my phone, right? And the thing about cosplay wrestling, it's also a multiversal deathmatch kind of situation where you can have Luigi going against Green Arrow, going against Green Lantern, right? I'm trying to think. There's also Kingpin. Master Roshi is a fan favorite as well. But one thing that's always bothered the hell out of me, okay? Green Arrow is a goddamn villain in this, okay? Green Arrow and Black Canary have fought more times than I can count. And I've only been going to the con for 3 years, right? So 3 years of this storytelling has been Green Arrow basically beating up on his wife, right? And every single time Black Canary has tried to get her own redemption arc to fight back, she always loses, right? And this has been happening for 3 years. While I was there for something historic, finally, after 3 years, Black Canary beat Green Arrow, and the crowd went nuts because everybody that was there, just like myself, went fucking wild when that happened, all right? And it's just so great. It is. I'm going to be putting the link for all of this in the description as well. They do such a good job, and they do more stuff in Connecticut as well. Cosplay Wrestling is one of the highlights, and I think it was 2022. I think I spent more time just watching the wrestling than anything else that weekend. I have like the entire thing videographed from 3 years ago. So yeah, it was awesome finally watching Black Canary and Green Arrow duke it out, and there's a ton of other really popular characters there as well. Okay, and then one more thing happened as we were kind of starting to close out the day. So what we did, we were kind of starting to wind down. I think it was probably a few minutes after 2 o'clock, and the convention closed at 3. So there's also the Marriott, which I haven't really talked about too much. We didn't really go into that much this year, where a lot of like board games are played, right? So there's a lot of people, they do basically 72-hour D&D sessions, right? I'm exaggerating a little bit, but basically all weekend they'll do like a quick campaign, right? Kind of like a longer one shot. They'll just play for 12 hours a day, basically. Yeah, that's also really cool. We don't really do that too much, but I know like that's that's a big reason why a lot of people go. But this year, the con was sponsored by Kraft Mac and Cheese. I didn't bring this up earlier because I think this part is very funny. So they actually had a Kraft Mac and Cheese dice tower that they made. It's pretty fun. So you roll down the dice, and if you get a 1 through a 9, you get one little cup of mac and cheese. That's pretty great. Or if you roll a 10. If you roll a 10, you get a full 10 pack of mac and cheese. So I just got a crate of mac and cheese, essentially. And it was great. I rolled the 10, and I got a 10 pack of mac and cheese. Thank you, Josh, for taking this picture that's popping up right now. Once we did that, we sat down and we were like, we have a few minutes. KX is still shopping here. So we wound up Uno. Playing Uno, right? But as we're playing Uno and having a great time, mind you, the game actually never finished because Sean then gets an alert on his phone. Joe Biden drops out of presidential race. So we found that out while we were playing Uno at the end of what is basically a 72-hour anime bender. And I think we might have just been tired and delirious, but this was the funniest thing in the world to us, right? And then we were freaking out so much. One guy came over and he's like, hey, what's going on? And we told him, Joe Biden just dropped out of the race. And he's like, what the hell? I didn't expect to hear that from dudes playing Uno. And it was weird. It kind of set the tone for the rest of the day just because it just seems like something so far to left field. Because like now I'm always going to remember that Joe Biden dropped out of the presidential race. We're playing Uno at an anime convention. Like it's gonna stick with me, you know? Now, as the convention finally closed, we still hung out for a couple more hours by going to Cracker Barrel, which, if you guys know, it's white people mecca. That's basically just what it is. It's great. Yeah, so we ate at Cracker Barrel, and then we went to the Battle Standard. So the Battle Standard is a fantastic hobby shop in Windsor. They just went to their new location, and only me and Sean were the only ones that have been to the new one yet. So we brought everybody. We just kind of looked around for a bit. I got Luke Cage and Iron Fist for Marvel Crisis Protocol. It's probably going to be a video about that coming up soon. And yeah, that was the close of our weekend. We got home, just kind of slept, I'm going to be honest. Okay, everybody, that about does it for kind of this Connecticon con review recap vlog thing. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. This is the first time I've done something kind of like on camera like this. So if you enjoyed it, please leave a like, hit subscribe if you like what you're seeing here. It's mostly me here, but then I always have my friends on the podcast, as well as I know Tyler did a video essay about trucking sim, and I'm hoping to get some other people on here as well. So yeah, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Once again, thank you to both KX and RSMP Tabletop. And yeah, just thank you everybody so much. Have a great time. You've been wonderful. I've been Jared. See you next time.